What's up everybody, it's Deranged, and today we are talking about the unwilling, unwanted, undeserved return of MaMaMax. Nobody wants him here, he should not have tried to come back. Much like Jar, I feel like if you're gonna pull this shit and try and come back on YouTube, use an AI voice changer, do something completely different and mind your damn business. He cannot do that. He is back once again trying to prove that he is indeed the greatest pedo hunter of all time, and anybody that was critical of him was wrong, is a liar, is a deceiver, and he is incredibly manipulative throughout the duration of this video, which is not a surprise. I have a lot of issues with the video. For now, I really want to focus on what happened with Nick, what he said about Spencer, what he said about Charlie, and how all these things kind of blend together in this video. Nexpo and Mudahar, and Night Dogs, I will probably touch on later. So one thing for me is the manipulative language that he uses and the way that he edits the video. When he's talking about stuff that Nick and other commentary YouTubers did that he doesn't go in depth on compared to like the Mudahar section, he is much quicker, he is much more petty, and his criticisms and responses to them are much more shallow. He's very dismissive of it. So with the Nick section, I'll play this clip here and I just want you to take a look at this.
I recommend watching Nicholas Deorio's latest video, linked below, talking about what Max has done broadly. You'll hear me speak on the record for the first time about all of this. So just by looking at the thumbnail, I can immediately tell that Nicholas Deorio is going to be as honest and objective as possible, by giving me additional hair and enhancing the shadows on my forehead to make me look as creepy as possible. It's not like this is an example of visual manipulation and deceptive framing to influence the perception of the audience that all of these dramatubers are known to use. It's clearly an accurate representation of empirical truth and reality, especially given that Nicholas Deorio originally had no criticism when I first showed him the Charlie video, and then once he saw the backlash, he changed his mind to have a few light criticisms. And then after Mudahar recruited him to be his lapdog in the defamation campaign, he took a complete 180 and did everything in his power to make me look as horrible as possible, literally creating a video called "This Video Will Make You Hate MaMaMax." It's not like he lied to my face saying he's going to keep everything between us and then subsequently leaking our DMs and private conversations, without our consent, by the way, to get a head start on the narrative so that way I can't respond without everyone immediately think I'm lying about everything. Jim, I'm glad you got a platform to speak your truth that was worm-tongued into you by Ryan, who no longer wanted to be associated with his best friend that was getting cancelled. Yet the survivors and I have yet to be platformed by any of these people, some of which outright denied us a platform, despite the fact that we are direct sources of information for our side of the story. It's almost like this was an orchestrated attempt to keep us silent and only platform each other. What? No, that's not an echo chamber. That's a beacon of truth.
He bitches about the YouTube icon, which, by the way, Nick said that he didn't even make the thumbnail. Someone else made it for him. And by the way, a filter was put on to enhance the brightness. If you look at the original picture that he juxtaposes next to it, talking about, oh, they made this darker to make it look like I was crazy, it's already there in the original photo. If you use your eyes for 4 seconds, you can see it. It's the brightness and contrast were turned up. That's why you can see these little wispy flyaways on his forehead. I can see that right now. Can you? Here, let me show you. I will draw over it for you so you can see what I'm talking about. That's the first thing for me. So he is trying really hard to find just little things to point out that's wrong with it. He takes clips, he takes comments from Nick and their DMs, and he takes it out of context. He does not provide the additional context like he does later on in other sections of the video. He narrates whole conversations, including sections of these screenshots that have nothing to do with the original point he was making. For Nick, he doesn't do that. He only summarizes what's being said in his point of view. He doesn't actually read what Nick is saying. So Nick made a response video going back and reading out all of the DMs himself, showing the screenshots of the full context in the conversations that were being had. And ultimately, he says to Max something that I think everybody should have said instead of staying quiet, which I don't blame people for not responding to all of his insane call to action DMs he sent to people, but they should have done this too, where Nick goes so far as to say, I'm declining to, make a statement and put out something promoting his video. He's declining to give a platform to Max's video. He says, I'm moving on from the subject. You have my permission to tell people that. I wish them nothing but the best, and I hope they find justice against those who wronged them. My platform is no place to have that discussion. I am an entertainer and not equipped to take that responsibility on. It's far outside of something I could handle and do a good job at. So I feel like that's absolutely true. They'll be adjacent to these topics, but it's not their whole world, and they don't discuss it in a way that I think would be conducive to what Max is expecting. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and it makes less sense for him to go after somebody like Charlie, to go after Anthony Fantano. Joe Rogan, maybe. But none of these people are journalists. None of these people have a serious platform that would be great for something like that. They are just dudes talking about shit on the internet. That's it. So I don't know why he thought it was a good idea to do that call to action and then get pissy and in his feelings when people wouldn't respond. With the Nick stuff, I think it's really fucked up that he just refused to actually break down what Nick was saying. We knew Max was a bad friend. This just goes to show, like, he's talking about all these people backstabbing him. Well, here he is doing the exact same thing, twisting around things that Nick has said to him, said about him, and just tossing it away, being dismissive and being passive aggressive in his critiques because, fuck, Nick said something he didn't like. I just don't understand why he thought this was a good answer. And what compounds that for me is he gave Nick like 2 minutes of screen time, right? He didn't even give Nick a section, which I think was incredibly stupid because that guy has made 2 long-form, very well-sourced videos talking about you and criticisms of you and dealing with the Camden shit, you know? You probably should have addressed his stuff directly rather than doing this dismissive, oh, he gave me extra hair and made it brighter and made my brow darker, so clearly he's not to be trusted, he's a manipulative douche. It's YouTube. Thumbnails aren't that serious. This situation shouldn't be as serious as it is, and it's only where it is because of you. But that being said, that's not the only problem. Because when he gets into something that I feel like is credible, he gives it a much more dedicated section. Spencer gets a nice block, her own chapter to this that proves she was basically there to manipulate him. She was asking him to buy her fast food all the fucking time. He would encourage her to get a job, being very gentle in a lot of these conversations in ways I thought was, oh, look at that. He's being supportive and understanding of someone he believes to be a victim. That's great. The language he used, I approve. But we're talking about somebody who was asking him to forge a high school diploma for her so she didn't have to get a GED to get a decent job. She made excuse after excuse about everything. She demanded the full amount of money when it was supposed to go to all of the survivors. And then when she didn't get what she wanted and she finally essentially got kicked out of the house, she goes and makes a fundraiser her friend makes a fundraiser post on Facebook. It makes its money. And the context for the post is she's in a bad situation. She is being starved by Max. She is being neglected. And she's got to get out of there. She's got nowhere else to go. So we can see very clearly in this very dense section, pun not intended, she's not a good person. She's not a credible anything. It's very odd that all of this shit happened and that while this was going on, he didn't stop to think that maybe she might not be as credible a witness as he's making her out to be. But I'm gonna have to point out this comment that I think sums up the situation with Spencer very well. So Spencer used you for a free place to live and free food, but you complain about commentary YouTubers not believing her about the vampire werewolf rapist. You can't have it both ways. When this shit was happening and when you guys were dealing with the fallout of all of this, at no point did you think to question her credibility until after she turned on you. Like, I don't know what he was thinking, but not only does this make Spencer look worse, this makes you look worse because you allowed this behavior to happen and you didn't question it. Meanwhile, if this situation is real, you just fucked everything up. So that's all one thing. The last thing I want to touch on is the Charlie stuff. Again, an excellent comment here. If you put as much effort in trying to prove Charlie wasn't sick in your actual big deal werewolf investigation, maybe you would have actually caught Camden Gerard Davis by now. And I don't think they're wrong at all. I'm gonna play this clip for you of the Charlie shit and then I'm gonna break down why I think this is stupid as fuck, so take a look at this.
I liked Charlie.
I like MaMaMax.
And I felt he could do a lot of justice for this case. Understandably, Charlie was not happy about this, and during a live stream, he vented to his audience.
We talked like a month ago about like what he was working on in his investigation, and then apparently when I had COVID, he messaged me a couple times and I never saw it, and now he's taken that as me ghosting him and ignoring his very important mission, and it really rubs me the wrong way. Instead of just he's jumping to the most extreme possible explanation for me not seeing it, which is really fucking cringe. That did make me upset. There. Yeah, that really rubbed me the wrong way. I had COVID, and I barely used Discord in the first place. It was a miracle I ever even saw his message to begin with. And then I spent 12 days not doing anything online, in bed. And during that time, apparently it changed his whole framing of the video in order to make it like a Trojan horse of cancel critical, because he didn't respond to my messages and ghosted me. So yeah, that did rub me the wrong way. Good intentions, but I did not like that.
I can see now that he felt blindsided and hurt, which is fair. However, I think it's important to lay out the facts. I reached out to Charlie on October 23rd, giving him a brief rundown of my current project. He responds 25 minutes later, claiming he hasn't done reaction streams or react content in about a year. I respond 5 minutes later that he doesn't need to react to my video, but I would like to invite him to our group chat with other influencers so we can establish a direct line of communication between everyone involved about my project in case anyone has any questions or concerns once everything goes down. He doesn't reply, so I follow up with him the next day, apologizing for my sense of urgency, but I truly felt this project warrants his attention given what the survivors have told me. He replies an hour later apologizing and agreeing to take a look. I send him the NDA that he promptly signs. In the group chat, one of the survivors explains the cult with some evidence, we share her videos, and that she is open to answering questions. This is when Charlie stops replying completely and claims that he was sick. But Charlie was active and engaging online during this same period. I don't mind if he was too busy or had no interest in my project, but just be honest about that.
Hey, you'll never guess who just got COVID again. Not this guy. No, yeah, I'm just pulling your leg, it is me. Look hard into my piercing blue eyes, and you'll notice that my soul is finally back in my body. I'm feeling much better, so I thought I'd celebrate by watching some more horrible pickup artistry attempts on TikTok.
So according to his own uploads, Charlie had COVID from October 30th to November 2nd, 4 days out of 12 that he claimed he was not doing anything online.
And then I spent 12 days not doing anything online, in bed. I barely used Discord in the first place. It was a miracle I ever even saw his message to begin with.
I followed up with him over the course of that month, which many people claim is me spurging out and spamming him. But from my understanding, following up with a colleague every few days is perfectly normal in most professional settings, especially after they've agreed to take a look on what you've been working on. And I just wanted to keep him in the loop. But hindsight is 2020. I agree that this is a bit much. I will admit that I drafted these messages with ChatGPT, thinking it came off as professional, when in reality it's way too robotic, long-winded, and heavy-handed. He finally responds and explains why he was inactive. I respond to him the next day, apologizing and asking if we can just get in a 30-minute call so I can explain myself and find a resolution that is beneficial for all parties involved. We set up the call with him, me, and the survivor. We had a respectful conversation. He was very understanding and kind, and we conclude the call by just requesting if he can listen to the survivors for 15 minutes to see if this story is worth his time. And he agreed, only requesting that Mutahar, out of all people, was to be present. I told him that I already invited Mutahar, but he is welcome to invite anyone else. We said goodbye, and we felt good about our conversation. After that call, I invited him to the server. He never joined, and then nothing. No follow-up, no response. We have waited for over a year now, and he still hasn't said anything about it since then. This was never supposed to be about me or Charlie. It was supposed to be about the survivors who deserve to have their stories heard.
So I'm gonna tell you what I think happened with Charlie. First of all, he said he got COVID, and at the same time, he's sitting here not engaging with you. You're saying he's on Discord, he's making videos the entire time that he's sick, and you do a zoom in on his Discord notifications. You see how Discord has 9+ notifications? That means those are messages he hasn't read yet. There's a really good chance that those 9+ messages are from you and other people that he hasn't had the energy to look at. I'm sorry that Charlie didn't see you. Another YouTuber he doesn't know personally and is not friends with is a quote-unquote colleague, which, ooh, that word is doing a lot of heavy lifting, did not prioritize you. Especially, we're talking about a guy who's a deeply unserious person. Why are you expecting him to come in and suddenly join the pedo hunter, brigade? It's not surprising that he didn't discuss it. You literally tried to use Charlie more than once, threaten him into talking about this. I think that Charlie was right, but I also don't think that him being sick was the only reason he didn't respond. I think it sucks that he got COVID, but I also think it was very fortunate he got it because it gave him an excuse not to respond to your insane messages. He got a bad vibe about you, and he didn't want to say to you directly, I'm not going to talk about this. That sucks to get ghosted, but he was ghosting you. And because he didn't respond to you directly and you took that shit personally, you threatened to expose him because you're the freaking pedo hunter. What does that mean? Are you implying that Charlie is a pedophile? If you have evidence that Charlie's a bad dude, post that shit. Why are you sitting on it? It's giving Destiny knowing 16 sexual offenders, and if he goes down, he's taking them down with him. It was just a bad call. But for now, that's all I've got to say about it. I'm going to keep digging into the other sections I didn't talk about, and I'll probably make a follow-up video. It may not be the next one right after this, because again, I only have so much energy for MaMaMax, and there's other more interesting things I'd rather talk about. But in conclusion, he's a moron. He shouldn't have tried to come back. He should have actually put some energy and some effort into whatever crime he's trying to fight rather than sitting here picking people apart in passive-aggressive, shallow, shitty ways. And that's all I have to say about that for now, so I'll see you guys in the next one.